we have very different practices, and this comes out of me being interested in negation primarily, and taking things away, and things being missing, absences, and you being primarily interested, I guess, in
structures and supports,
surfaces,
and painting.
And so the excluded middle is something which is common to both of those things, and this is a way of formalising that, of making a structure which somehow talks about that excluded middle in a very theatrical and very kind of overplayed way. That for me was the reason for sticking with that title. I mean, the excluded middle is the thing that forces a binary decision, so a decision between two things. So in purely formal terms in the structure, there's the nose and the tail. And
it's quite a kind of literal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm a firm believer in going as literal as you can.
Especially because it's really hard to talk about. So we had to be blunt.
I think there's a lot to be said, especially with public artworks, for being as blunt as you can.
Yeah.
For being as obvious as you can, and then it gives people room to not have to worry about kind of what it is or what it represents or something. Somehow it just already is, and then they can deal with that as something to, other aspects sink in later on, perhaps. We're not a unit necessarily.
We don't think alike.
No, we think very differently. So it's not that we come together because there is a shared interest, but it's for us it seems more interesting to have this kind of narrow point where our two practices collide, and we can find. And for me, it's all about the negotiation of how we negotiate what's possible within the kind of remit of what's acceptable to both our practices.
Yeah. I mean, Ben's a lot more sort of rigorous and practical, and I'm a lot more playful and intuitive. But then I think I become more practical, and Ben kind of comes slightly towards the intuitive.
Absolutely. Yeah, it brings out all kinds of things that I never dare do in my own work.
Yeah. So I'll cut a bit of wood that will be the right size, but I'll end up using like the offcut to build something. Whereas I don't think
I get angry because it's a piece of wood that I've already cut to an exact measurement, and it's waiting in a pile to be used. So for me, it's all about simplicity. It's about using the easiest material, or the simplest material to do the thing. So if you need to build a structure that's 1/10 the size of Zeppelin, you have to build it out of something which is capable of doing it in that size, and obviously within budgets and timescales and things like that. So timber is the that's the kind of obvious material to go.
Yeah, it's basic. It's more human. It's more like it relates to other structures, other structures.
Other temporary structures. Yeah. And I guess we kind of try and carry that through right to the end, where there's a funny aesthetic that's based on that simplicity. And for me, one of the interesting things about what we're doing with this thing that becomes sort of halfway between a crash site from which the public are excluded and a building site from which the public are excluded, there's a logic to that. There's a symmetry to that, and building these materials allows us to follow that through with a quite a clear aesthetic. There's only two materials here. It's just timber and the sheeting, which is a sort of standard building sort of debris cover for scaffolding.
For me, I get more excited by a kind of half finished site than I do with a kind of finished site. So it's about kind of keeping that. Where does it go? Does it crash or does it take off? It's kind of
because it's a model,
a place of transition.
Yeah, because it's a model, because it's at this 1/10 scale. it felt important to us for it not to look finished, for it to feel as if it was something which was still a drawing, even though it's 7 meters high or whatever. It still wants to be very much a drawing or a proposal.